People believe that none of us are living our values. People believe that we're all out for ourselves. And to a certain degree, that's true. And you're right, we're not living our values. And in an environment where Donald Trump has a very clever class critique and a structural critique that is unbelievable to me. And when I listen to him on Joe Rogan talk about it, because I might be the only Democratic operative who listened to the entire Joe Rogan interview, which I had to be then pulled out of it, because otherwise I was about to start playing video games all day and living in my mother's basement. But he has this amazing critique that the system is rigged, and he's like, I know how to take advantage of it, and I'm going to use it to help you. And then he peppers that in with other stuff, which is like, be afraid of these immigrants and horrible things about women. So I don't want to put any of that away. Just like he has an incredible critique that we have no answer for. And on inflation, yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
Can I jump in? Sorry. This is where I want to always raise my hand in this conversation. Donald Trump's a fucking liar. So it's really easy to go on a podcast with Joe Rogan, who's a full of shit, anti-vax, neo-Nazi, knuckle-dragging comedian cum podcaster who's never held to any standard of any kind. Nobody ever fact-checks him. Nobody says you're lying. He only brings people on his show. The reason he didn't do that, I mean, you guys can argue with me all you want about this. The reason that Joe Rogan did not roll out the carpet in a more genuine way to Kamala Harris is because he knew she was going to be like, she would challenge him. Because Kamala is somebody who can sit across, I saw her do this many times, and if I thought that she sucked at this, I would say this right now. One of my favorite things about her is that she is somebody who, in the moment, in the pocket, can be like, no, absolutely not. What you just said is wrong. That is not true. And I saw her do it to a lot of people, right? So it's not an apples to apples comparison to say we should be assigning a standard of morality and popularity from someone who's just will say anything, right? Like, and that is, I think, kind of the bigger problem is that I'm going to go back to what Sam said. And Sam, not that I disagree with anybody here. Like, we're all in the same. We're all fishing from the same pier. But like,
we're all on the same team, even with legitimate disagreements.
100%, yeah. So, but I think that's one of the problems that I have is that the reason that Trump does well in places like Missouri and Nebraska, where Mike you're from, and Brad, I have no idea where you're from and how well Trump did there.
Miami, Florida.
Oh, yeah, he did okay. Is because the guy is the white racist answer to Barack Obama. So that as much as there's this romance about the Tea Party, that it was all about economic populism, and I'm not saying that it didn't have that element to it. I grew up in a family of conservatives. I know what they whispered about Bill Clinton. I know what they said out loud about Barack Obama. So the racist answer to Donald Trump has always been Donald Trump. And that side of the world was angry that we had a celebrity. And your friend Tim, who lives in Maine, just votes for celebrities. And he's too embarrassed to say, I don't understand what any of the words mean. I'm not trying to shit all over him. I'm not invalidating the things that he says. But democracy is a very difficult system. What's the old expression? It's the worst system except for all the other ones.
Yeah,
Winston Churchill.
That's a Churchill quote. Yeah.
Churchill.
Yeah.
So the problem is that we are this massive country, and I forget which one of you just said this, that the Democratic Party is really a collection of state parties, right? And some of them are very, very good and very effective, and some of them suck because they are. I would say Tim and I talk with the New York Democratic Party all the time. Just knock them all you want. I'm here all day for that. The Missouri Democratic Party does what it can do. They had really good leadership this cycle. One of you mentioned Lucas. I think, Mike, you did. It's always going to be hard to be the person that has to rebuild the infrastructure when there isn't any, et cetera, right? So I think the temptation is always to be like, how did we get here? And I've heard the same conversation about how did we get here for 30 years or something. I heard it in 2001. I heard it in 2004. I heard it in 2016. Like, I've heard, it's the same one. It's a variation of the same theme. But I want to go back to what Sam said, because I think that is where, as a group of men, we can be the most effective in this conversation, right? Because I don't always agree with Scott Galloway, but I agree with his thesis that we have a young man problem in our country. And I guess I'll start with Sam, because you brought this up, because you brought up Gamergate, and you brought up Bannon's understanding of how to manipulate those very vulnerable, very online people. And I think they became even more online during COVID. They had nowhere else to go. And so I'll start with Stan, but then I want to go around. That I've been thinking about this a lot the last couple of days because I knew I was going to be talking to a group of well-concerned, compassionate, thoughtful, kind, empathetic men from my vintage, give or take, mostly give. But I've always thought that one of the problems that America has that is dissimilar to other countries is that when we turn, young women have a sort of different set of problems that I can talk about with other people later. I think the problem that young men have is that we give them suburbia. We're like, we figured it all out. We wanted you to be safe, and we wanted you to have good schools, and we wanted you we wanted a chicken in every pot, and we wanted you to have. So we built these car-centric communities where you have three choices as far as cultural activities as a man. You can be an athlete, you can get married, or you can go to church. Now, if those things don't sound interesting to you, and if you're straight, right, let's assume that I'm not talking about our LGBTQ plus community. If you don't want to, if you're having a hard time connecting with other young women, if you're not athletic, and you are not interested in being screamed at every week by a homophobic, racist, whatever, I'm not saying all churches like that, just the ones that I know growing up, where do we put them? And I think that is one of the greatest things that we have to address. If we're gonna solve the Donald Trump impending fascism problem in our country, we have to figure out a better way for young men to find spaces in the real world, physical spaces in our built environment where they feel safe and like they're a part of something.